What's going on, everybody? This is Chargers Now. I am your host, Will Ortner, and I have spent the last day and a half concocting my perfect plan for the LA Chargers this 2026 NFL offseason. What coaching hires should the Chargers make? What players should the Chargers go after in free agency, potentially even the NFL draft? Who could the Chargers be looking at, and who could they target to re-sign with the team? I'm going to get into all of that and so much more in today's video. I've got a ranking of what needs to go top to bottom. The very first hire that the Chargers need to make is absolutely nail the offensive coordinator hiring. Getting rid of Greg Roman was the correct move by this franchise. The offense was stuck in the mud, and they were not doing nearly what they needed to do with Justin Herbert back there at QB. But I'll tell you right now, I've got one name to me that stands above the rest for the offensive coordinator job, and I do think it will surprise you because I think that the Chargers need to go out and hire Brian Daboll. Yesterday, I released a top list of my OC candidates, and I did not have Daboll at number one. But the more that I thought about it, the more that I believe he actually works with Justin Herbert. When you look at Herbert's season stats this year, they were pretty damn fantastic, right? He's over 65% completion. He's really closing in on 4,000 yards. Would have had it if he had stayed healthy. Now, the interception number is a little bit too high, but I don't always blame that on him. His wide receiving core was lacking. His offensive line was atrocious, and there was no real run game around him. Clearly, Herbert is a very good quarterback. But what does Brian Daboll do best? He comes in, he finds strong-armed quarterbacks that are tall with a little bit of athleticism, and he gets the most out of them. He helps take those quarterbacks from being good to great, or in the case of Josh Allen, from someone who had all the talent in the world. Because remember, Brian Daboll was his OC when he was over in Buffalo at the beginning of his career, and he took Josh Allen to being good, to being great, to eventually leading him on the path to winning an MVP trophy. I understand that Daboll wasn't his OC at the time that Allen won the MVP, but he put him on that path. Imagine what he will be able to do with Justin Herbert, a quarterback that is already great in the National Football League, a quarterback that has already shown he can win despite the talent that is around him. Imagine what Daboll can do for Justin Herbert. He could finally truly unlock Herbert, because I do believe that we are in a spot right now where we are only getting 80% of what Justin Herbert could be. Nail the OC hire Brian Daboll. Next, it is very clear to everyone else in probably the planet Earth that the LA Chargers have the worst offensive line in all of the NFL. By all the rankings, all the stats, horrible. But the Chargers don't need any offensive tackles. If Joe Alt stays healthy, if Rashawn Slater stays healthy, this team is solid. So let's go and look at some interior offensive line help that the Chargers could go out and get in free agency. First, must sign in my eyes, Tyler Linderbaum. He would be someone that would come in and instantly have a lot of success here with the LA Chargers. And then Isaac Seumalo. Now, this is a guy that I'm seeing a lot of fans really talk about in a potential free agent signing. I'll dive into why Seumalo would be a great signing for the Chargers. First, we're going to look at Linderbaum. He is the best center that could potentially be on the free agent market, and in my eyes, he deserves a blank check. He would help get this Chargers offense rolling when it comes to running the football in between the tackles, which we know that Harbaugh wants to do when he is coaching his offense. When he was at Stanford, Jim Harbaugh ran the football. When he was at San Francisco, he ran the football. When he was in Michigan, he ran the football. They want to run the football in LA. It makes life easier for Justin Herbert. You add in Linderbaum, you would actually have, in my opinion, the best center in the National Football League to help Herbert not only quarterback the offense, he's a great pass blocker, but more importantly, he's a great run blocker as well, and he get that offensive line fixed. Next, Isaac Seumalo. Now, he's an older player who could potentially be a little bit more expensive than maybe you'd want to pay for an offensive lineman that's over 30 years old. But What Seumalo does is he would add a veteran presence and a veteran leadership into that locker room. Seumalo's been there. He's done that. He knows what it takes to be a good offensive lineman in the National Football League, and he can help bring along some of the younger players that will be on the offensive line for the LA Chargers. I think it's important to note that Seumalo, he could also be a little bit on the cheaper end than going out and paying a big-time young guard. Let Seumalo come in and really push this team forward with his veteran leadership. The offensive line has to be strengthened in LA if the Chargers want to have any hope of going past the first round in the postseason. Too often, the Chargers have seen it year after year after year where they get into that wild card round, and then that's all she wrote. It's back-to-back years that that's happened. I think that with a strengthened offensive line, you'd have a more complete offense, and then, of course, win more football games in LA. I got two more things that I want to talk about that the Chargers must do in this offseason. But before we do that, I got to shout out our recent subscribers here on Chargers Now. We are growing exponentially. A big day yesterday for the brand. Thank you so much to Marvin, Ignacio, Bag Chasers Daily, Always Learning, SoCal, Super Mutant, Benjamin Bierce, the Laurel Well, Ty Man the Buckeye, and of course, the Glowing Samoan. Thank you guys so much for coming in and hitting that sub button. We can do more videos every single day if we get to 1,000 subscribers. Right now, we're over 700 subscribers. We're trying to get to that 1,000 mark. Only need 285 more people to come on in and hit that sub button. So if you love the LA Chargers, you love NFL content, hit that subscribe button because you are going to get the best Chargers coverage, in my opinion, on this channel. The next thing that we got to talk about is find Justin Herbert a new weapon. This wide receiver core really let me down. And as good as Ladd McConkey was last year, it definitely felt like he took a little bit of a step back because more teams were targeting him. Quentin Johnson has been someone who's been a major letdown, and Keenan Allen is older than dirt right now. So how do you find a new weapon for Justin Herbert? I think a great target would be Alec Pierce, the wide receiver for the Indianapolis Colts. He's a taller wide receiver who would do well in the low red zone, but I think what you're going to see here over his last 4 seasons, or in fact his career stats, is that Pierce gets better every single year. He's the type of player that isn't going to be deterred by what's thrown in front of him. He continues to improve. He's showing that he's getting more and more speed. He's not dropping the football nearly as much, and he makes the most out of his opportunities. His yards per catch average is otherworldly. I think Alec Pierce would be a great free agent target, and the Chargers have the money to spend. The Chargers are going to have the most free agent money that can be allotted towards free agents. So make sure that you go out and sign Alec Pierce. Now, if you don't want to go with an older, more established player, you can look at the top wide receiver prospects in the upcoming NFL draft. Obviously, Carnell Tate, Jordyn Tyson, they are going to be high draft picks. I don't know that they fall to the Chargers, and I don't know that I'm willing to trade up to go and get them. That doesn't mean that Makai Lemon, Denzel Boston, and Zachariah Branch are not good targets as well. They are all in their own right great, young, talented wide receivers that, if brought into the right system, could really explode for this team. The last thing that the Chargers need to do is keep this defense as intact as possible. Now, I'm not really going to dive into what's going on with Jesse Minter because that's more so up to Jesse Minter and not the LA Chargers. If he wants to take the job in Pittsburgh or in Baltimore, 2 jobs that he's interviewed for, well, then that's up to him. But I believe that the Chargers must make sure that they go out and re-sign these free agent players for the squad because they need to make sure that this defense does not take a step back, even if they have to go out and hire a new defensive coordinator. They have to make sure that that D-line is still nasty. Tart, Mack, and Oweh all have to come back to LA next year for this team to reach the true potential that they can. Tart has been fantastic in the middle of this defense. I know that Khalil Mack, that's more so does he want to come back? Does he want to retire? Where is he at? I believe that if the Chargers threw a nice contract offer at him, he'd be willing to stay. And I understand that this year he had some injuries and he missed some time. But if you could get Khalil Mack close to healthy, look, an old Khalil Mack is still better than most edge rushers in the National Football League. And Odafe Oweh had an absolutely fantastic fantastic season this year once he came over to LA. Really, the Chargers maximized what he could be. Find a way to re-sign him. He needs to stay in LA if this defense is going to continue humming the way that it has been. In my opinion, you got to pay for the defense, and you have the cap space to do it. You have a ton of money in the salary cap, well over $100 million. So spend it. Use it. You have the funds. Go out and make this defense and keep this defense great while also making that offense a much better version than what it was in 2025. Here is my perfect offseason checklist. Nail that offensive coordinator hire. There's one guy, in my opinion, that would really get the most out of Herbert and what this offense can do, so go and get him. I know it didn't work as well in New York as many had hoped, but he's still a dang good coach. Get more offensive line help. Make sure that that O-line is humming on all cylinders. Find Herbert a new weapon, and of course, keep the defense intact. Let me know down below in the comment section if there is a player you want the Chargers to draft or sign in the offseason. Maybe you like the players that I threw out there. Maybe there's a player that I did not mention. If there is one of those guys, let me know down below in the comment section. I'm replying as much as possible. I do see what you guys are sending in there, and I do try to respond if I possibly can. Help us out. Come on in and hit that sub button. We are dangerously closing in to 1K videos. If we get to 1K, I can go to the bosses here at Chat Sports and say, we need to do 4 Chargers videos a week and multiple shorts, and they will oblige us because we are a growing channel and a bigger channel. So come on in, hit that sub button. If you have a friend that loves the Chargers, make sure that they see this video so they can hit the sub button as well. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and bolt up.